One-on-one with Gus Malzahn. It's college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. We're going to have Gus Malzahn, UCF head coach, coming in just a little bit. They're 3-0, off to a hot start, and they play some team named Colorado. I think their head coach is Deion Sanders, somebody like that. They play him this weekend. We'll preview that game as well. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Joined now by the head coach of UCF. He is Gus Malzahn. Gus, what's going on, man?
Just getting ready for those Colorado Buffaloes. We had an off week last week, kind of healed up, and we got a big one coming up Saturday.
I've heard about Colorado. I've heard of that. They're people actually watch them a little bit this year. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But 3-0 start. Obviously, the TCU game was a little wild before last weekend. You got to take off. So, what's that 3-0 start been like? Just kind of take us through what you guys have been doing, what concerns you have, and what you're happy with so far.
Well, I mean, first of all, to be undefeated is a great feeling. We played two lesser teams the first 2 weeks, but I felt like week 2 we really improved. Went on the road against a very talented TCU team. Didn't play our best. They had a lot to do with it, but we were able to come back from a 21-point deficit on the road in the second half, which is hard to do. And so we learned a lot about our team, and I was really proud of our guys, the way they responded. Just like you said, the off week just was last week, and we had to clean up some things. We had some areas that we had to get a lot better in. So I'm really excited to play against a quality opponent like Colorado, and see where we're at.
What did you have to clean up? What weren't you happy about that you needed to address in the
Yeah, I think more than anything, defensively, we got to find ways to put pressure on the quarterback and just play clean football. Offensively, it's just getting our quarterback getting more used to the system, and each game he's done that. We protected the football pretty well too. And then special teams, we had some block kicks, had to clean that up too, and just try to make special teams an advantage for us.
You mentioned your quarterback, KJ Jefferson. A lot of people know him from his time at Arkansas. He's in your system now. I'm not saying he's Cam Newton, but he's got a similar sort of skill set. Yeah. How do you intend to utilize him moving forward, knowing that he has that big build that can make him a very dangerous runner?
Yeah, there's no doubt. He's a big guy. He's played a lot of football. I think that's really what stands out to me. He understands the game. He's getting more comfortable with our offense, and physically, he's as close physically as Cam as we had. We've done some similar things we did back in 2010 with Cam, and he's responded well. He is a true run threat, and he likes running the football. He throws it vertically down the field. I think we're in the top 10 in the country in yards per completion, and that's really his strengths. And so we'll continue to play him to his strengths.
Yeah, Kobe Hudson is one of those guys. I mean, he's your deep threat, man. He's been awesome so far, and obviously you know him from your time at Auburn. He came over from the Tigers. What has he meant to this team and helping KJ sort of adjust to the offense?
Yeah, he's off to a great start. Last year, he's behind Javon Baker and kind of our number 2 guy. He's really grown into that number 1 role, and he worked hard on his contested balls, 50-50 balls, and he's just off to a great start. And he's one of those guys that really draws attention to a defense.
When you look at attention getting drawn to a defense, there's this guy named RJ Harvey. Yeah. He's been okay for you guys, and I've known you for a long time. You are you're a run first guy. I think a lot of folks sort of have the misconception that you're sort of throwing all over the place and trick plays. You are a run-first guy. In the national championship, or when you went to the national championship game, it was Trey Mason left, Trey Mason right, Trey Mason all over the place. RJ Harvey's kind of doing the same thing. How have I don't know if you're surprised with him, but how much has he meant to that team, and what can he do moving forward? How good can he be?
Yeah. I tell you what, he had a had a great year last year, but he improved. He had a great spring, great fall camp, playing without the ball, understanding our schemes even better. He was a college quarterback at Virginia, 3 or 4 years ago.
Crazy.
So learning to play the running back position. And he's got a little bit of Kerryon Johnson in him as far as how patient he is and his lateral movement. He's really strong. He's really smart. And you just said, we're a run play action team with him, so I'm going vertically down the field when we do pass it. And he really helps us establish that run threat.
How much do you expect to use him in the passing game, the rest of the season? I'm not asking you to give us game plans or anything, but, you used Kerryon a little bit in that way at Auburn.
Well, I think he's just a versatile guy. He caught a touchdown last week out of the backfield. He's just one of those versatile guys. He understands, he has a different outlook because he played quarterback at this level. And I think when you do that, you understand everything even better. He plays very good without the ball with protections and checkdowns and everything. And so he's definitely a big threat.
Defensively, you guys have not given up a ton of big plays. A few here and there, obviously with TCU, that was maybe something that you need to clean up. So how do you intend to fix that moving forward?
Yeah, I think the big thing is putting pressure on this quarterback. He's a phenomenal player, and we got to make him uncomfortable. And we only have 1 sack through 3 games. We've hit the quarterback quite a few times, but we hadn't got home. We got to get home. We got to disrupt. We've been working really hard on that the last 2 weeks.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Colorado. A lot going on for UCF this weekend. He's Gus Malzahn. It's College Football Smothered and Covered. We're powered by Locked On. And this show brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, NFL fans, we have something very, very big for you on FanDuel. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you ever get a hunch in the middle of the game? You're like, I think this dude might go nuts in the second half. Well, you know what? You can check the latest stats, get play-by-play, much more on that same page, right where you place your bets. That's right. That's what's on FanDuel. Check this out. They'll give you $200, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. They'll give you $200 when you place your first $5 bet. Of course, that $200 is just in bonus bets. Bonus bets. You love bonus bets. You'll be able to play every single thing you can possibly imagine with $200 in bonus bets. And all you got to do is make a $5 wager on FanDuel. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Gus Malzahn back with us here on College Football Smothered and Covered. And Gus, I guess first things first, there's a hurricane in your area. How has that affected your preparation this week and what you need to do?
Well, it seems like since I've been here, we've had a similar thing happen. I think all 3 years I've been here before. And so it's just, we'll adjust if we have to. Right now we're moving forward like you would normally in a game week, but our guys understand to adjust. We will. It looks like right now it's going a little bit more to the west than originally planned, but we'll adjust and be ready no matter what.
It's the reality of living in Florida in the fall. It happens a lot. It's funny. Yeah. Like I don't like doing this, but it's, every time, every year it's like, okay, we're going to have this game canceled. This game's going to get moved. And it doesn't look like this is going to be an issue, but obviously Colorado draws eyeballs. The TV ratings are what they are. How big is that to be on a stage knowing so many people are watching? What does that do for your program, knowing that you're trying to make a statement and tell recruits, hey, we're doing well here. Let's come to Orlando.
Well, it's a big game, obviously, and you're exactly right. I mean, Deion has that thing rolling, and people love to watch him coach. They love to watch his teams with his players, and so this is a big one in a lot of different ways. Obviously, it's a big one just because it's a huge conference game from a 3-0 team and a 3-1 team. I mean, so it'll be as good as it gets here. I expect our atmosphere to be off the charts. The big noon kickoffs here, and so it's a great time for recruiting. And I just told our players, I mean, this is one of those games, we have an opportunity to seize a moment, and we're still a young, growing, Power 4 team. And so this is a big one in a lot of different ways.
Shedeur Sanders is he's burst onto the scene last year and doing the same exact thing this year. what have you seen from him, and how do you approach a guy like that, knowing just knowing how good and how dynamic he is?
Yeah, he's a very talented young man. He's got a big time arm. What really impresses me is how calm he is, and no matter whether he's getting hit 3 plays, 4 plays in a row, he's still the same guy. And he actually used his feet quite a bit to help last week. But we're going to have to do a good job of getting pressure on him and getting home. And and when he scrambles, I mean, you got to keep your scramble rules alive in the secondary, because he's really good at finding guys down the field, going to his right and his left. So it'll be a good challenge, for our team.
You ever seen a player like Travis Hunter? I mean, it seems like he is literally everywhere for that team.
Tell you what, as far as being versatile, playing as many snaps as he is on both sides. No, I haven't, not in college. And he is a dynamic guy. I mean, he's a dynamic cover guy. You can tell his receiving skills, his routes even gotten better than last year. And, he's a nightmare on a 50-50 type ball. And they try to target him. I mean, he's a guy that, that they're going to look to first.
You mentioned Power 4. You're in the Big 12 now. You and I talked, I guess it was a couple years ago, how much that matters, and how, the foundation for UCF and the fan base, relatively new alumni base, young alumni base, and how big that could be. How have you seen the fan base adjust, and how excited are they in terms of, the new era of UCF athletics?
Yeah, I've said this before. This place is a gold mine, and we have a young fan base. We're strength in numbers. The sky's the limit. We're working to get competitive in the NIL world, which SJ2E's done a super job every year. And if we ever get to the point we're even close to these other in-state schools, we're going to have a chance to really take that next step as a program. So this is a really important year for us right now, and we've just been talking about seizing the moment, not just this game, but the entire year.
You mentioned NIL. It's still relatively new. The calendar's all over the place for players and coaches with the portal and everything else. How would you fix that?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think for me, it's just, you got to adjust. I mean, we're in such a unique time of college football, and I think the coaches that adjust instead of, either get upset or this or that. And, we're a young school. We don't have a lot of things, cemented in place like maybe traditional. So I think it's easier for us to adjust. And I know for me, I got enough young guys around me that help me. And so I think we're set up, for the new age of college football pretty well.
Well, Gus, appreciate you hopping on. Good luck this weekend. It's a big game. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of eyeballs. And you know what? You guys have been so successful this year. And look, it's awesome to see you guys grow into what you've been.
Yeah, appreciate you, Barrett.
All right, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's got over 5 million active viewers. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you need to do is pick more or less on a 2 to 6 player parlay. Stat projections are there for you. You can watch the winnings just roll on in. Going up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with just as few as 4 correct picks. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. What does that mean? So if your lineups stay in place, even if your players get injured, they'll stay in place. No worries. Player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your Prize Pick picks, they're still alive. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if your picks don't hit. Now, let me tell you, I started using Prize Picks back right after the pandemic started, when, sports started gradually coming back. And I was big into golf, man. Prize Picks golf, that was fantastic. It got me hooked, and I've been playing ever since. Did a lot of baseball when baseball came back, and then football season rolled around, went right into football as well. They do everything over at Prize Picks. And I tell you what, football season, doing pretty good. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Locked On College, and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. That's Locked On College on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, it's time to shine. It is time to shine. That means every week on Thursdays, we talk about players who we need to see be successful this weekend. Players, teams, coaches, whoever. We're going to start with Trevor Etienne at the University of Georgia. He has not been that alpha. He has not been that 1A. He has not been Nick Chubb. He has not been Todd Gurley. He has not been Zamir White. Georgia, when it's successful, Georgia, when it is at its best, is when it has two running backs, but the leader is established. Now, Trevor Etienne's only played 2 games with the Bulldogs. The first game, he was suspended. But under 80 yards per game total in those 2 games. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it, especially when Georgia's still sort of figuring out who that 1B is. And against Alabama, this can turn into a track meet if Jalen Milroe hits those deep passes. In fact, Malachi Starks, the star cornerback for Georgia, said that the biggest threat, the one thing he's scared about more than anything else in terms of Jalen Milroe, is that deep pass, not his legs. So Georgia has to avoid that. One way is to keep Milroe on the sideline. That's on Trevor Etienne. Another is to get big plays out of the running game. That's on Trevor Etienne. And yet another is get those receivers open deep downfield. That hasn't happened yet. There's no Ladd McConkey. There's no Brock Bowers. Delp's okay, but still, you need to have those guys develop. And the way to do that is by taking pressure off of them with a stellar running game. All of that mixed together means that Trevor Etienne needs to shine this weekend. And he hasn't yet. We'll do picks tomorrow. He hasn't really done that yet. So Trevor Etienne, you need to shine this weekend. So do you, Drew Aller. I've been wrong about Drew Aller. Over 10 yards per attempt. I'd never thought I'd be sitting here on the podcast talking about Drew Aller being a deep threat. And yet, here we are. Now, I know Penn State had that little hiccup a little bit with Bowling. Bowling Green's a good MAC school. Penn State had some issues with them. They got the win. Drew Aller's been over 10 yards per attempt all 3 games. They have a fantastic running game. Playing Illinois in a big conference game this weekend at home. If this can continue against a pretty good Illinois defense, it's time you start paying attention to Drew Aller, not just as an elite quarterback in the Big Ten, but also in the Heisman Trophy race. Again, I never, ever thought I'd say that because I've been a Drew Aller detractor. But man, this is huge. If he has success this weekend, you're talking about an elite quarterback, and you're talking about a Penn State team that wouldn't just be one of those teams on the periphery of the college football playoff, which is really what they were a lot of times during the 4-team playoff era. Can they win it? Not yet. I'm not ready to go there. Can they make it? If Drew Aller continues to play the way that he's played, I would be shocked if they didn't make it. It's a big game. Time to shine, Drew Aller. Also, Avery Johnson. They're playing Oklahoma State this weekend, and Kansas State got smoked by BYU. Where did that come from? And I tell you, the Avery Johnson experience, and I put this on X during that game last Saturday. It's like a diet version of the Bo Nix experience when Bo Nix was at Auburn. Great play, can run, can throw, and then what the hell are you doing? And we saw all the bad stuff against BYU. I like Avery Johnson. He unseated Will Howard at Kansas State. He's a perfect fit for that offense. But now he's going against an Oklahoma State team that's desperate, that we've seen play wild games like it did against Arkansas come back and win. Last week was a disappointment. They're desperate. Which Avery Johnson's going to show up? I don't know. Better be the good one. Because Kansas State can't lose another Big 12 game. Not this early, especially. Because then the margin for error that's already razor thin basically disappears. Can't lose it. Avery Johnson, it is your time to shine as well. Thank you very much for joining us here on this Thursday edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Really appreciate Gus Malzahn, head coach at UCF, hopping on. He's done a great job so far at UCF. They have a chance to show it this weekend against Etienne, Shedeur, Travis Hunter, and the Colorado Experience. Hey, thanks for making this your first listen. For your second listen, go check out Spencer McLaughlin, Locked on College Football. Does a great job covering the entire sport. So go check him out as well. We'll make picks the Friday 5 coming up tomorrow. Until we talk then, have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.